much. I'm Matthew Fielding. I've been working for SIANI from the first phase we had, and what I can say is with each new phase, it really gives SIANI a chance to reappraise the context in which SIANI is existing and to look at how we are completing our activities, update the way we communicate, look at how we engage with our partners in other worlds, in developing countries and in other countries, and to really kind of focus clearer and clearer. In this particular phase of SIANI, one over the next 2.5 years and hopefully longer than that, we have refined our outcome areas to these three words here. One is about the enabling environments for evidence-based, multisector interdisciplinary dialogues, looking at knowledge generation from the network, bringing that up to international events, but then also bringing knowledge back from the international arena down into to Sweden and to various stakeholders and partners there, and then to facilitate inclusive action. No longer is it sufficient just to prepare reports or to document, but actually needs to translate into action. The context of SIANI is a really dynamic time at the moment. People are increasingly coming together and collaborating to find solutions to shared challenges that we have and trying to build a better common future. And we saw this with the development of the Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2030, where there was this unprecedented set of global consultations trying to find out what we want, and looking to achieve it not only through development aid, but also through civil society, the private sector, academia, governments, all having a role to play. Not only that, but the Paris Agreement was the first climate-related agreement that had specific food security and sustainable agriculture, where they were first explicitly addressed. And then also the context that SIANI is operating in is the sustainable agriculture and food security, and their role in poverty alleviation is a fundamental part anchored within CEDA's current priorities as well. As we know, as I'm sure all of you know, and all of you work with, the climate change is driving long-term environmental damage, and not only slow onset but short onset disasters and catastrophes, and this prevents a really threat to human security both now and in the future. You know, we see record-breaking temperatures, for example, in sub-Saharan Africa, leading to drought, water scarcity, agricultural crises in rural areas. But these are the areas that are perhaps least equipped to be able to combat, and as people move, they often move to neighboring countries where they're also equally challenged and poor and unable to cope. SIANI sees that multi-sector networks and platforms such as us have a vital role to play in this context. The international community has planned an ambitious agenda, and that's something that SIANI is an arm of and has a role within its current phase, the third phase, to actually contribute to it. That's why our mission that we've established for SIANI in this phase is to promote a multi-sector dialogue with participation from academia, the private sector, Swedish authorities, and the civil society surrounding SDG 2. And in 2016, at this meeting last year, when we participated in our roundtable dialogues, very much what came out of them was that that SIANI should play a proactive role in monitoring the progress of the Swedish contribution to the achievement of the SDGs. And that's something we can revisit today to see how we can actually put that into practice. Of course, we have to bear in mind that one SDG can only be realized through the achievement of all of them, and they're incredibly interrelated. And so we can say that we are working on all of them, but specifically for SIANI, SDG 2 and SDG 17, which is the one about enhancing support for developing countries, especially for the least developed countries, is of course key to our work. So that's translated into these 6 areas where we've chosen to cluster our efforts. We've found that within the Secretariat and within the activities of the network, we can't possibly hope to cover all of the issues in all of the sections. So what we do is to cluster on specific areas that we've developed over time that lead themes of work. So embedded into all these titles comes all of the seminars, the reports, the expert groups that we have are all found under one of these specific work areas. And so moving ahead into 2017, there's, as with previous SIANI phases, there's a number of key events that we look to link our work up with throughout the year. This year, the high-level panel of experts, one of their reports from the CFS is on sustainable forestry for food security and nutrition. And that's something where we'll be organizing several different forms of activities around events and publications to link in with that and take advantage of the opportunity provided there. It's also the International Year of Sustainable Tourism for Development, and specifically as Swedes, we go on these amazing holidays to these beautiful destinations, often in low-income countries, and there's a lot that actual tourism can do to support this. Expert groups as well. We've just finished the call for our first set of expert groups under the current phase, and as Steve fantastically showed just now, that's a great tool for SIANI to engage with, go that extra yard away out of what we don't really like to refer to as the Swedish resource base, but to actually join up with partners in those countries to connect the kind of final meters to where poverty is. On our events side in 2016, we're having events both national with the Agri4D conference, that's coming up this year, with a focus on rural transformation. Have World Water Week, as usual, where SIANI is always present, World Food Day, and an RRI event, the Rights and Resources Institute, looking at community land rights, coming up in October. And as usual, we'll be at Almedalen, specifically with our focus on youth and how youth can engage with the political discourses there. Internationally, we'll be at the CFS again this year and at the Global Landscapes Forum, which are our two main events where we hope to bring the knowledge from the sector and actually promote it and report back and try to improve the dialogues that we have here. And that's in addition to other events that we encounter as we go on throughout the year, where our members will be in contact, and together we'll collaborate with other partners and institutions and organizations to actually bring up different events. And then finally, we have this is one good example of how we used to refer to things in SIANI. We used to talk about our publications and our reports, but I mean, in line with what Johan said as well, we now don't look to write a report, we like to document evidence-based results and innovations. We like to really pin down, we don't just want to publish reports for report's sake, but we actually like to try and capture what we are learning through the action of SIANI and the network, and to put that into targeted communications materials. And the fantastic communications team that we have in SIANI is able to do that, and actually to prepare things that are able to communicate right to the people where we want those messages to be heard. And so, finally, just to reiterate that I see some old faces here and I see some new faces here. So I think it's always good to go through the kind of, I think you can justifiably say this is kind of the modus operandi of SIANI, about we're always seeking opportunities to collaborate and to join together, operating under our mission. We like to develop alliances, to exploit opportunities, to disseminate and to feed our communications materials to the right parts, to the right targets. We work to seek cross-sectoral participation at events and to promote dialogues to help understand links, especially between peace, agriculture and food security. So thank you very much. Enjoy the roundtable dialogues later. Cheers.